Hey there, coin enthusiasts. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on our latest coin discoveries. Today, we've got a thrilling episode lined up for you. We're diving into the world of Washington quarters, focusing on the years 1965, 1966, 1977, and 1988. These aren't your ordinary quarters, we're talking about ultra-rare, error-filled coins that can fetch you anywhere from. First up, the 1965 Washington quarter. Now, you might be thinking, 1965? Wasn't that the year the US Mint stopped using silver? And you'd be right, well, mostly. That year marked the beginning of the clad coinage era, where quarters were no longer made of 90% silver. But here's where things get interesting. A few 1965 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964. That's right, these transitional era coins slipped through the cracks during the big changeover in composition. So what makes these silver-struck 1965 quarters so special? It comes down to their metal content and weight. Regular clad quarters weigh about 5.67 grams. But the silver ones? They tip the scale at approximately 6.25 grams. That might not seem like a huge difference, but in the coin world, that slight increase in weight is a massive clue that you might be looking at something rare. When it comes to value, these coins are no joke. One example, graded 58 Australian dollars, almost uncirculated, sold at auction for a whopping $14,687.50 back in 2014. Another, graded 53 Australian dollars, brought in $7,800 as recently as 2021. These aren't theoretical numbers, this is real money changing hands for coins that people may have spent at face value if they didn't know what to look for. So how do you tell if your 1965 quarter is one of these ultra-rare errors? The easiest way is to look at the coin's edge. Modern clad quarters will show a distinct copper-orange strip along the edge, thanks to the copper-nickel layering. A silver planchet coin won't have that. Instead, the edge will be a clean, uniform silver gray all around. No orange. No copper. Just solid, old-school silver. And don't forget to weigh the coin. A precise scale can be your best friend here. If your 1965 quarter weighs closer to 6.25 grams instead of the usual 5.67, you're onto something. Even if the coin looks circulated or a little worn, the composition and weight tell a story that could be worth thousands. The bottom line. Always double-check your 1965 quarters. You never know, you might just be holding one of these rare transitional errors right in your pocket change. Next, let's dive into the 1966 Washington quarter, a coin that's often overlooked, but can hold some serious value under the right conditions. This was the second year after the US Mint eliminated silver from quarters, and during this period, they didn't produce traditional proof sets. Instead, they released what are known as special mint sets, or SMS coins, which were meant to offer collectors a higher quality coin than typical circulation strikes, but not quite the same level of finish as a proof. But here's where things get interesting. Among these SMS coins, a very small number came out with what collectors call deep cameo contrast. These coins are stunning. The design, Washington's portrait, the lettering, and other raised details, has a frosted look, while the fields, or background, have a sharp, mirror-like finish. The contrast between the two makes these coins pop in a way that standard strikes just don't. Deep cameo coins from 1966 are extremely rare, especially in higher grades. When one of these shows up in mint state 67 condition with a deep cameo finish, you're looking at serious collector demand. One such coin has been known to sell for around $2,400, and others have gone for as much as $3,738 at auction, depending on the grading service, market timing, and demand. That's a huge jump from face value for a quarter you might have passed over thinking it was ordinary. To spot one, you'll want to look closely, really closely. You'll need good lighting and preferably a jeweler's loupe or a coin microscope. You're looking for that striking contrast between the frosty raised features and the deeply reflective background. The deeper and cleaner the contrast, the more likely it is to be considered a true deep cameo by grading services like PCGS or NGC. Also, keep in mind, regular SMS coins don't usually have this finish. Most of them appear dull or semi-proof-like at best. That's what makes the deep cameo examples so special. They're the exception, not the rule. If you think you have one, it's worth sending it in for professional grading. The difference between a regular SMS quarter and a high-grade deep cameo can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Moving on to the 1977 Washington quarter. Here's where things really start to get interesting for error coin collectors. Most people would assume that after 1976, all quarters were strictly clad, made of copper and nickel with no silver content at all. And for the most part, that's true. But a few sneaky survivors from the bicentennial era managed to cross over into 1977. Some 1977 D quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 40% silver-clad planchets intended for the 1976 bicentennial commemorative coins. These silver-clad planchets weren't supposed to be used beyond the bicentennial production period, but somehow, a small number found their way into the Denver Mint's presses during regular 1977 quarter production. The result? An extremely rare and valuable transitional error that few collectors ever come across. These silver-clad errors are not just anomalies, they're treasures. In fact, one 1977 D quarter struck on a silver-clad planchet sold at auction in 2016 for a stunning $4,935. That's a jaw-dropping number considering it's a coin most people would never think to look twice at. It just goes to show how important it is to pay attention to the small details. So how can you tell if a 1977 D quarter is one of these rare transitional errors? First and foremost, check the edge of the coin. Standard clad quarters have a very distinct copper core, and you'll usually see a reddish-orange stripe running along the edge when viewed from the side. But if your quarter is struck on a silver-clad planchet, that copper stripe will be missing entirely. Instead, the edge will be a uniform silver-gray color all the way around. Weight can also be a giveaway. While regular clad quarters weigh about 5.67 grams, the silver-clad planchets used in the bicentennial series come in at around 5.75 grams. It's a small difference, but if you have a precise digital scale, that extra fraction of a gram could be your first clue that you've got something special. Visual inspection is key, but professional grading and authentication are usually necessary to confirm the planchet composition. A certified error designation from a trusted grading company can turn what looks like an ordinary 1977 D quarter into a high-value collectible. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about the 1988 D Washington quarter. At first glance, it might look like just another modern coin, but there's something unique going on with a small number of these. Some 1988 D quarters have surfaced with what's known as a large indent error, an unusual and dramatic minting mistake that instantly grabs attention. An indent error happens during the striking process when another object, like a previously struck coin or a blank planchet, gets between the die and the coin being struck. This foreign object partially blocks the strike, leaving a deep, curved impression or blank spot on the coin's surface. In the case of the 1988 D quarters, the indent is typically large and very noticeable, often affecting a major part of the coin's design. This isn't your everyday die crack or minor off-center strike. These indents are bold, eye-catching, and rare. They can appear on the obverse, reverse, or even span both sides depending on how the obstruction occurred. What makes these errors even more fascinating is that each one is completely unique. No two indent errors look exactly the same, which adds a layer of appeal for collectors who love one-of-a-kind pieces. As for value, while auction records for the 1988 D quarter specifically are limited, coins with similar large indent errors from other years and mints have consistently brought in over $1,000 when properly authenticated and graded. The actual value depends on several factors: size and placement of the indent, overall coin condition, and whether the error affected any major design elements like Washington's face or the eagle on the reverse. If you're searching through coins, a large indent error like this won't be subtle. It usually looks like a chunk is missing from the coin, though technically it was never struck in the first place. Many collectors discover them purely by accident, noticing something looks off while casually going through change. But spotting one is only the first step. Having the coin authenticated by a grading company like PCGS or NGC can verify it's a true mint error and dramatically boost its value. The Denver Mint, where the 1988 D quarters were struck, is known for producing high volumes of coins, which makes it plausible for such striking mishaps to occur, especially during peak production periods. So, there you have it, 4 ultra-rare Washington quarters that could be worth big money. Remember, the key to finding valuable coins is knowledge and attention to detail. Always inspect your change, and don't hesitate to get your coins graded if you think they might be valuable. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your fellow coin collectors, and leave a comment below telling us about any rare coins you found. And as always, happy hunting!